My dear one, snuggle down now, and let your thoughts drift to a time long ago, far away, where whispers of magic filled the air, and a grand adventure unfolded for 4 young souls. Close your eyes gently, and let this tale softly unfurl around you. Once upon a time, during a period when the world outside was a little loud and uncertain, 4 children, named Peter, Susan, Edmund, and little Lucy, were sent to a quiet country house. It was a grand, old place, belonging to a kind Professor Kirk, filled with many intriguing rooms and winding corridors. Here, far from any distant rumblings, they found a haven of peace and old-world charm. One rainy afternoon, as children often do, they decided to play a game of hide-and-seek. Lucy, the youngest, with her bright, inquisitive spirit, ventured into a large, dusty room with only one enormous wardrobe. Curious, she opened its doors, expecting to find mothballs and old coats. But as she stepped inside, pushing through the heavy fur coats, she noticed a peculiar crunch under her feet. It wasn't the polished floorboards of the professor's house. It was snow, and the scent was not of musty wool, but of crisp, cold air and pine. Lucy had, quite by accident, stepped into a different world entirely. This was Narnia, a land held in the grip of an eternal winter, yet always without Christmas, under the cold power of the White Witch. Before her stood a peculiar lamp-post, glowing softly in the twilight. Soon, a creature with goat legs, a human body, and a kind, gentle face appeared. He was a faun named Mr. Tumnus. He invited Lucy to his curry cave for tea and told her wondrous stories of Narnia, of dryads and dancing, of warmth and sunshine that once were. But as he spoke, a deep sadness settled in his eyes. He confessed that he was under the cold command of the White Witch, who had forced him to bring any human child he found to her. But Mr. Tumnus, with a good heart, simply couldn't bear to do it. With a whispered apology, he helped Lucy find her way back through the wardrobe, promising her safety. When Lucy returned, breathless and full of her incredible story, her siblings, Peter, Susan, and especially Edmund, found it hard to believe. They thought it was merely her vivid imagination, but Lucy knew what she had seen. Later, Edmund, with a somewhat mischievous curiosity, followed Lucy into the wardrobe himself. And just like her, he found himself stepping into the snow-covered land of Narnia. But instead of a kind faun, he encountered the White Witch herself in her magnificent ice chariot. She was beautiful, with an allure that masked her coldness, and she offered him a magical sweet treat called Turkish Delight, which he greedily devoured. She spoke to him of power, of making him a prince, then a king, if he would bring his siblings to her castle. Edmund, enchanted by her words and the promise of endless treats, agreed, his heart beginning to be swayed by her icy charm. When he returned to his siblings, he shamefully denied having been to Narnia at all, even though he had. The other children were puzzled by Lucy and Edmund's differing tales. It was Professor Kirk, with his quiet wisdom, who suggested that perhaps Lucy was telling the truth, reminding them that some doors simply lead to other worlds. One day, while hiding from the housekeeper, all 4 children tumbled into the wardrobe together. This time, there was no denying it. Narnia was real. Lucy led them to Mr. Tumnus's cave, but it was ransacked and empty, with a note from the witch's wolf captain, Morgrim, about Tumnus's arrest for treason. Fear began to ripple through them, They knew they had to help him. Suddenly, a friendly, bustling creature, Mr. Beaver, appeared and cautiously beckoned them to follow him to his warm, burrowed home. There, with Mrs. Beaver, they shared a hearty meal and learned the true history of Narnia. The Beavers spoke of an ancient prophecy that when 2 sons of Adam and 2 daughters of Eve sat on the 4 thrones at Cair Paravel, the White Witch's reign would end, and the great lion, Aslan, would return to bring spring and warmth back to Narnia. They told the children that Aslan was already on the move, and that they must meet him at the stone table. As the Beavers spoke of Aslan, Edmund, his mind still filled with the witch's promises of power and treats, slipped away into the freezing night. He made his way to the witch's castle, hoping for his reward, but found only Sold Fury. The witch, upon learning that Aslan was truly returning, was furious and immediately sent her wolves to capture the other children. Edmund was taken prisoner, his sweet dream turning into a bitter reality as he was led to a cold dungeon filled with poor creatures turned to stone. Meanwhile, Peter, Susan, Lucy, and the Beavers sorely escaped the swift shadows of the witch's wolves. They embarked on a difficult journey through the thawing lands. As they traveled, the ice began to melt, the snow gave way to green, and the air grew warmer. Spring, guided by Aslan's gentle presence, was finally breaking through the witch's long, cold winter. Along their way, they met Father Christmas, who appeared with gifts. Peter received a sword and shield, Susan a magical horn and a bow, and Lucy a healing cordial and a dagger for defense. These were not for war, but for protection, he assured them. Finally, they reached a magnificent gathering at the stone table, where hundreds of mythical creatures and forest dwellers awaited. And there, standing majestically, was Aslan himself, a lion of great wisdom and gentle strength, whose presence radiated warmth and courage. Aslan greeted the children with kindness, especially Peter, and soon, through his gentle power, Edmund was rescued from the witch's castle and brought safely back to the camp, filled with shame and sorrow, but also relief. Aslan, with a forgiving heart, spoke quietly with Edmund, and all was set right between them. However, the White Witch soon arrived, her icy gaze fixed on Edmund. She demanded him back, citing the deep magic that stated any traitor belonged to her. Aslan, with a solemn understanding, knew that for Narnia to truly be free, a great sacrifice was needed. He offered himself in Edmund's place, a decision shrouded in ancient mysteries and profound love. That night, Lucy and Susan, unable to sleep, followed Aslan as he walked alone toward the stone table. They watched, hidden in the shadows, as the White Witch and her cruel followers bound him, mocked him, and then, with a terrible blow, ended his life upon the ancient stone. A deep sorrow fell upon the world. The sisters cried over his still form, their hearts heavy with despair, until the morning light. But as the sun rose, a wondrous thing happened. The stone table cracked with a mighty sound, and Aslan was gone. Then, to their astonishment, he reappeared, majestic and alive, standing on the broken stone. He explained that there was a deeper magic, from before the dawn of time, that if an innocent, willing victim offered himself in a traitor's place, the stone table would crack, and death itself would turn backward. Aslan was reborn, stronger than ever. With Lucy and Susan on his back, Aslan galloped to the witch's castle. With a single roar, he awakened all the creatures the witch had turned into silent, still forms of stone, bringing them back to joyful life. Meanwhile, Peter, leading the forces of Narnia, was bravely engaged in a great gathering of intentions against the witches' armies. The air shimmered with courage and magic. Edmund, no longer swayed by evil, fought bravely alongside his brother, redeeming himself with his steadfast heart. Just as the Narnians began to falter, Aslan arrived with his newly freed army, and with a powerful roar, he confronted the White Witch. Her cold magic finally faded, her reign dissolved, and Narnia was truly free. With peace restored, Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy were crowned kings and queens of Narnia at the majestic castle of Cair Paravel. They ruled Narnia wisely and kindly for many, many years. The children grew into strong, noble adults, cherished by all the creatures of Narnia. One day, while hunting a beautiful white stag in the forest, they stumbled upon the familiar lamppost, and pushing through the trees, they found themselves once again within the old wardrobe. They stepped out, no longer adults, but children once more, back in Professor Kirk's house, not a moment older than when they had left. They told Professor Kirk of their incredible adventure, and he, with a knowing smile, simply told them that Narnia was a land that often makes its way into our world when we least expect it. He reminded them that once a king or queen in Narnia, always a king or queen. And so, my dear one, the great adventure of Narnia unfolded, full of courage, forgiveness, and the triumph of warmth over cold. Now, let these gentle images drift through your mind, knowing that in worlds both near and far, goodness always finds its way, and peace ultimately prevails. Rest now, deeply and sweetly.